What's up, everybody? It's me, Moldy Joe, here giving you a online multiplayer battle for Medieval 2 Total War. This fight, I'm playing as the Russians, and like my name implies, I will be rushing in for getting some first shots on my opponent, who is playing as Denmark. Once my guys make it into this clearing, I'll give you a little bit of briefing of the troops I brought. Here you can see I brought 4 units of Sarsgaard. There's 2 over here, 2 over here. These guys are heavily armored, heavy cav. Very good in a melee fight. I brought, might have been 4 or 5 units of dismounted Devor. Can't really tell off of first glance. I got a couple units of Berdish axemen. These guys got the big old axes. Those guys are fun. I'm keeping them on the flanks, so hopefully when a melee fight kicks off, I can run them around and charge them into the backs. They have very high attack, but pretty low defense. I also have 1 unit of Cossack musketeers. These guys have very good range for firearm troops. Even still, they're not going to be incredibly lethal, but they will hurt morale very much. Early on in the fight, Denmark runs their cavalry in front of my archers, so they end up getting taken down pretty nicely. They don't even get into a melee fight, so free kills for me. Pretty nice. I'm blocking them off with my Sarsgaard to keep them away from my infantry. My Cossack musketeers don't get enough time to take a shot, though. And I also have 2 units of spearmen just in case their cavalry try to cause any trouble for me. So this map we're playing on, what is it? I think it's, I don't know, call it like the Mexican Valley or something like that. So lucky for me, I guess I started off with a pretty nice high ground. But the thing about these jungle maps is, I mean, you can't see anything. You can't find any troops in here at all. Like, if you want to pay attention to where your troops are, you straight up can't see anybody when the trees are in the way. You got to pay a lot of attention to your mini-map, and even still, it's a pain in the ass to try and find guys. So I actually commend my opponent for marching his army out into this clearing. Nice flat ground and open visibility, so it's fair for both of us. We can all see where our troops are. I don't like playing on jungle maps too much, but I did create the lobby, so it's my own fault. So now that my opponent is out in the open, let's take a look at his army. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of chivalric knights. These guys are really good, strong knights. They are pretty much on par with my Sarsgaard. They have some units of Norse swordsmen, a few of them. Dismounted feudal knights, maybe just 1 of them, I think. Or 2. I don't know. I'm not good at counting. Numbers are hard. He's got some halberds and some Norse axemen in the back ranks. So if you pay attention, you'll realize he has no missile troops at all. Now, I'm not saying that having a melee-only army is bad. You can definitely make it work. You just have to screen your opponent correctly and charge when he's distracted or something like that. Get your guys into a melee fight as soon as possible. Start outflanking them, whatever. But honestly, in this fight, things don't go too well for him. I'm making all of the moves in this fight. I'm being pretty proactive instead of reactive, which a lot of missile-heavy troops, missile-heavy armies tend to be. You'll see all my dismounted Devor. They are archers, yes, very good archers. Where are they? Where are they? Yeah, here's one of them. They're very good archers, but they also have very, very nice melee stats. They're just a little bit worse than most knights. So my thought process being, and this is the first time for me testing it out, is if I have these guys as my main infantry force, if I can force the enemy to charge their melee troops into me, which lucky for me, I don't have to worry about that because he has no skirmish troops, so he will have to charge into me eventually. That these guys can pick off whatever troops are charging into me, and by the time they make it to me, they'll be so depleted that my guys will be able to win in a melee fight against them. So all in all, that's pretty good. So I'm just going to be marching my guys up to this line once they get in range, and then after that it is going to be up to my guy, my opponent, to decide how he wants to deal with the fact that he's going to be shot by arrows. So one of my main goals in approaching this guy, because I got a little bit of a while to walk to meet him, is I got to get rid of his cavalry. He has a lot of heavy cavalry. He's got, well, I won't say a lot. He's got one more unit of heavy cavalry than I do, but still, I only got 2 units of spearmen. They can't take it on all by themselves, so I'm gonna have to get crafty. Probably have a cavalry on cavalry fight, and I'm gonna have to come out pretty decisive to win that, because if not, if he wins the cavalry fight, he can very easily take out my archers, my musketeers, and to be honest, I don't have too scary heavy infantry. I got these Berdige X-Men somewhere. Here they are. But they have high attack, but I think their defense is only like 9, so they're best used to outflank, which is why I keep them on the flanks of my army. And a lot of people might see this fight and say, whoa, he's right up against the red line, you must be camping. You can't camp with an army that's all melee troops, that's just not possible. So he's obviously out here because we can actually see what's going on when the fight kicks off. Which is better for you guys, to be honest, because, I mean, no one wants to see a fight unfold when this is all you're seeing for the whole fight is just trees, you know? You actually want to see what people look like when they're getting hacked to bits by halberds, swords, and axes. So yeah. I could have been a jerk and stayed up on that hilltop and said, I'm not moving, you have to come to me. But I got a little bit more honor than that, I guess. So seeing that there are 2 units of chivalric knights in this forest, and actually this one is going to be charging into me, which is probably a bad move. He should have attacked me before I got into position. My musketeers took a shot at him and all that stuff, so once my Sarsgaard just ever so closely touch his troops, they end up routing. There's still over 20 of them left, so they'll come back from routing. My musketeers actually killed quite a few of them in that volley, which was nice to see. But these guys will come back from routing eventually, but I take them out almost immediately after they stop routing. So now I see that there's only 1 more unit of heavy cavalry in these woods, and my guys will be fighting it out in the middle of this jungle. Which is, I mean, these guys are a long way from home. Denmark and Russia? I don't know what you guys are doing in Mexico, but I don't know. So right now, my opponent needs to be reacting because I'm taking out his cavalry and he's not doing anything to support them. Here are these chivalric knights that came back from routing. I charge my Sarsgaard into them and take them out again. So I'm just going to be slowly moving up my infantry to the point where they're just in range. And my Sarsgaard won the fight in the woods. I can't even find them. It's so crazy in here. Anyways, they won the fight and suffered hardly any casualties because they were able to swarm the enemy troops. Speaking of being swarmed, I'm about to be just surrounded by chivalric knights. Actually not surrounded. They're all going to blob up in the front of me, which is going to buy me enough time to reinforce with spearmen, which is what I'm doing immediately. And it's not going to be going so great for Denmark. Now, I don't need these guys to win this fight. All I need for them to do is just hold the line and keep these guys preoccupied. Because if they just stay here, they're not going to actually hurt the strength of my army, which is in my missile troops. And Denmark is making a smart move by rushing at me right now, while my army's sort of separated. If he had waited for me to, well, I can't imagine why anyone would do that, but wait for me to win this cavalry fight, then he would be in for some real trouble. Speaking of winning cavalry fights, these Sarsgaard, they only lost 4 dudes in that fight against the chivalric knights in the woods, so they are going to be pretty much ripe for the picking for taking out all of Denmark's infantry. Because all these guys are blobbed up in this giant cavalry fight, he has no cavalry to support his army, and I still have 2 units. I'm pinning down 2 units of cavalry with, pinning down 3 units of cavalry with 2 of mine and some spears. And my spears, honestly, they aren't going to do anything in a melee fight against all of his heavy infantry. So, might as well use them to take out and pin down those horses. My Baradiche axemen are charging into his axemen, which is great. That's fun to see. And his knights are making it to my lines, as I expected. But also, as I expected, they are pretty depleted, and they're going to start routing. I'm also making good hammer and anvil charges into the backs of Denmark's men. So that's really going to hurt their morale, because they'll feel like they're surrounded, being cut down from all angles. And we dispatch them pretty hastily. Meanwhile, this fight is still raging on, which is fine with me. More troops that are distracted, the better. Well, he used all of his cavalry over here in this pretty pointless fight. I had all the time in the world to mop up all of his infantry. Then I'm going to take my surviving troops, my spearmen, my Tsar's Guard, and bring them into this fight and win it. My Cossacks will probably start taking some shots into the fight. And as I said before, these guys don't rack up tons of kills, but getting hit from a volley of muskets is very demoralizing. And it really makes troops rout a lot faster. My opponent was really fun during this fight. Once things looked like he wouldn't be able to save it, he said something like, "Oh, it's like, oh, the weather must be too hot for my Northmen." I started cracking up. Anyways, I won a clear victory. I killed a lot more of his men than he killed of me, and I guess that's a pretty good victory in my books. So, I'm Moldy Joe. Hope you enjoy the commentary. Talk to you guys later. Bye.